ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to work our way through dealing with cars. I might have probably have mentioned this in the last couple of days, but I think it's good in this section particularly to mention it again. Part of being successful in business is making sure your own personal finances are in order. And whether you're purchasing a vehicle for your business or yourself, it's important that you don't get yourself into a bad financial situation. Why would I mention that? Well, even though we've talked about how expensive new cars are, used cars can also be a huge hole in your pocketbook if you're not careful about things. So, when you're going to purchase a used vehicle, you might have wondered sometimes, where do these car dealerships even come up with the idea? I mean, new cars, they basically are given a starting price from the manufacturer on what they would be. Well, what about a used vehicle? How do they know how much to pay you for yours or how they sell theirs? We're going to take a look at that today. So, if you're looking for recommended prices for used vehicles, I mean, it depends on the make, the model, the features, the mileage, and all that stuff. So, let me make a few suggestions here of some ones that you normally are going to want to look for. All of these can be found online. It used to be back in the day you'd have to go to the library and look at a book. Not anymore. But the ones that get mentioned most often, and I'm just going to shorten this last one up a little. Are KBB, which is kind of like the main one that people go to. Edmunds and the National Auto Association's Dealers Association, excuse me, or just NADA. Isn't that kind of funny? Like nada, nil, yeah. So why is it important that you know in advance how much the vehicles that you're looking at may be worth or not worth? One big one. Save money. Don't get ripped off. Anytime you are going to look at a used vehicle, you have got to look in advance. Well, I guess you don't have to, but you need to look in advance and see, hey, how much approximately should I be paying for this car? See, hey, maybe you can get a better deal, but definitely not so you get ripped off. So when you're looking at an average retail price, okay, an ARP is what they're called, you need to look at the average retail value. How much is that particular car selling for at other car dealerships? Okay. Plus any additional options, does it have map direction in it already? Does it have a fancier radio system? Does it have a fancy anti-theft device? Things like that. Minus, there are some things on vehicles, this doesn't happen as often, but they may call it standard, and you're like, I really don't even want that, and sometimes you can get that to be subtracted off of there. Minus the mileage deduction. As you drive a vehicle, it becomes worth less. More mileage, the less it's worth. Kind of like back when we were speaking about new cars, how we said, when you drive that car off the lot, you're already losing approximately somewhere in the ballpark of a quarter of the value. So it doesn't go that fast for the rest of the time of your car, but it does come into play. If you buy two different cars, one has 100,000 miles and one has 50,000, the one's 50,000 is going to cost more. So here's kind of what is looked at. So let's look at this Mazda here, this Mazda Miata. Normal retail value is about $20,775. Auto transmission, that's not a big change anymore, most everything. But there's a few Few stick shifts out there still. Leather seats, okay. Locking differential, the premium sound system, absolutely. Aluminum wheels, and deduction for not having a navigation system. Maybe you're just going to use your cell phone. I don't know. And so what you're going to do here is you're going to break down. We're going to break it way down in this particular example instead of just going to the math. But I'm going to take my average retail value. Okay, then I'm going to look at my additional options. So I start to look around and I'm like, okay, let's see here. So I'm reading, probably should have read this before I even started, right? So additional options, we got auto transmission, some leather seats. So I start adding some of those things up. And we're like, all right. I'm just kind of reading here as I go, making sure I'm not missing stuff. So we're going to take our auto transmission and our leather seats, our locking differential, and our premium sound, and our aluminum wheels. All right, so we got 1,600 there. You can do that in pink. Then options deductions, okay. We're going to go without the navigation system. So that's going to subtract 300. Then mileage deductions. Okay, you're like, well, that's not over here anywhere. Let's read. So the used vehicle has automatic transmission, premium step, does not have a navigation system. It's been driven 51,520 miles. The used vehicle guide indicates that $620 should be subtracted for the mileage. All right. So what's the average retail price that she should think of when making her offer? Here is my equation. I don't need to write it again since I wrote it up here. So 2,775 plus 1,600 minus 300 minus 620 looks like about 21,455. Now again, you're going to make an offer. This is a used car. You always want to go in there and try to get something off or something added in. Maybe you get oil changes for 2 years for free. You try to get that in. Or you're like, you know what? The market's kind of tough right now. I can give you 20. And then they're going to come back with like 21. And then you're going to come back with 20,000. You're going to go back and forth. It is rare that you cannot go into a car dealership and find a way to get that number lower. Okay? Just don't act desperate because they will read that. But that's it. That's what I would be looking for here. So let's take a peek at another one here. So we got Gustavo, 2016 Dodge Grand Caravan. I've had one of those. That has an average retail value of $13,625. All right. The vehicle you would like to make an offer on has a backup camera valued at $75, and a rear entertainment system valued at $400. Must have the kids. You want to keep them distracted. So $75 and $400 would be $475, those two. It's been driven 26,720 miles. The used vehicle guide indicates that $450 should be deducted for the mileage. Okay. What is the price you should keep in mind when making the offer? Now notice, nothing was taken off. So there's no options deductions this time. So we're going to take that retail price plus the additional options minus the mileage deduction. And get that retail price. It really is that straightforward. But what, again, you have to keep in mind when you are going in to make offers. Some of these online vehicle places will let you add and subtract these things in right on their site, and then they'll tell you. But if not, you're going to need to do some of this yourself so you know whether you're getting ripped off or getting a deal. Okay, Caleb's looking for a Subaru Forester. Nice vehicle. Has an average retail value of $17,250. All right, $17,250. He'd like to make an offer on it. Has a remote engine starter. Yes, please. Valued at $125. And fog lights valued at $50. Okay. So my additional options would add $175. It does not come with auto transmission. Oh, the stick shift's at work. So he should deduct $475. I should be making $4,075. It has been driven 61,987 miles. The used vehicle guide indicates that 800 should be deducted for the mileage. So again, when we go to make the offer, $16,150. And I personally would keep stressing, no auto transmission, we got to talk here. Because, yeah, stick shifts, no thank you. So, as we flip to the back, back here is the practice. This is the you work on it portion of things with some things that are being offered. And just again, to let you see, because I like to do stuff like this. Hang on a minute here. This could get funky for a sec, but stick with me, people. Stick with me. All right. We're going to take a peek here. Okay. So here's Kelley Blue Book. This is kind of the gold standard for cars on things. So let's say, oh, stop it. Why these places got to do this stuff? We all know they make money from the advertisers. Okay. So, if I want to look for a vehicle, now, I can do anything. I can hit cars for sale, and it will just start doing things for me. But I have something in mind. I'm looking for a 2019 Chevy Equinox. I need to get a little bigger here. So I type that in, and this again is just to kind of let you see. So you can either see ones that are for sale right now and just do it that way, or you can try to build one and see what you want. Now you have to kind of know some things here. Now this is kind of nice. Lowest priced, highest price. Hardy always likes to go in the middle. The typical mileage, you're like, yeah, that's about right. That's fine. You could say if you wanted one with lower mileage, you could do that. But here come the options. And again, do I really care what color? Not really. All-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and it's going to add and subtract these things for me. Rollover protection, always a good idea. But you're like, if you don't care about, I don't know, I don't care about having an alarm system. Nah, it's not a big deal to me. I don't really care if I have a radio because I got my own stuff. But I get lost a lot, so I want a navigation system. Backup camera, sure, why not? Airbags, always a good idea. I don't need anything fancy. Now, here's an interesting part. You can buy from a dealer. Okay, that's always an option. You can buy certified, means it's going to be a little more expensive. They've looked at some things. Or you can buy from a private party. So if you're getting it off of, you know, Craigslist, something like that, and you're looking, that's going to be cheaper. But if something goes bad, it also is trickier. So let's just say we're going to buy from a dealer here. And so they'll give me a typical idea of how much it should be. They're typically listed a little over 18. fair price is around 17. You can find them around 16 to 18. So when you're going in, you have an idea of what's going on, and then you can find some in here. But notice, let's say you say from a private party, notice the price went down. So again, you want to have this idea walking in what's going on to keep yourself from getting ripped off. So if you have more questions, ask me. I've played with used cars a time or two. I haven't always bought new myself, as I've learned about that. So if you have more questions, let me know. Otherwise, just work on those practice problems on page 6, and we'll see you tomorrow.